Good morning and welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast with Tommy and Mike. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the episodes.
Happy 10 years. Happy 10 years.
Yes, very true. Have you installed the most recent version of Power BI Desktop, Tommy?
I have it downloaded, but I have not actually installed it yet.
Okay, after you install the newest version download of Power BI Desktop, the introduction screen, the little screen that loads when you run the one desktop.
Oh, they did it.
It's totally different now. It's totally different.
They did that in May.
Yeah, is that May thing? I didn't install it in May, but like now the little loading screen, it starts off with SharePoint BI, which is what the original version was, and then it goes to all the different logos of Power BI through the different logos, and then it resolves to the final logo, and then Henry the Owl shows up and says hello there for a little bit at the end, which is funny because I feel like in the more recent PowerBI.com experiences, I'm not seeing Henry as much. Like something may go wrong, but I don't see Henry. I mean, that's probably a good thing because usually Henry was like, "Uh-oh, there's a problem."
Yeah. I didn't want to see Henry.
you don't want to see Henry, but he's there. Actually, I don't know if is he still here? Henry still. It's behind my microphone. You can still see him on the podcast. For those who are starting live, Henry is part of my desk. So
it's great.
Yay, Henry. Anyways, super awesome. Love Henry. It was a nice little tie in there. I thought that was very cute that they add that. So anyways, super fun. I like it when I see Microsoft kind of having some fun with some things and doing some things that are a little bit fresh and new and a little bit not normal.
See, I thought I broke something because I have to upgrade my entire PC by October, the Windows 10 and Windows 11 thing. And when I first saw that logo, I'm like, oh no, they reverted me.
I'm now on Silverlight. It's gone. We've gone back.
Oh no, I'm on Designer again.
Oh no. Oh, that's funny. All right, let's just talk about our main topic today. So our main topic today is going to be, gosh darn it, we just want to look at reports. Right. PowerBI.com has gotten very robust. There's a lot of features in there. Users can come in and do so many different things with PowerBI.com, which is wonderful. We do like the fact that it gives us so much capability. But there are some users in our organization who get overwhelmed very easily, and you're throwing a brand new program at them. How do we simplify this experience? What does this look like to give a user experience that's just the reports? What options do we have here? And there's a lot of options to do this, Tommy. So we're going to talk about some of those options. And I think also, as an organization or an admin of Power BI, you really want to contemplate, like, how are you consuming the reports? I don't think people spend enough time on what you actually use. Like, we get excited about building models and measures and all these different things, and we get maybe overwhelmed with the amount of things we have to teach our team to get up to speed on Power BI. There might be opportunities for us here to really sit back and say, let's identify key audiences of using the Power BI experience, and then we can better cater those experiences to what the people are ready to use.
I think for a lot of people listening, this is going to be a nice refresher. It's good to take a step back on what are we really trying to do here. We love all the widgets, the things, the technical things, the notebooks, and all the new things. But at the end of the day, when you clear it all out, what are we trying to do here? And that's correct. How do we get people to view our reports?
And we've been talking a lot. I mean, we've been talking tons recently around like AI and how it's going to change things and agents and all these other new things. There's a lot of exciting things that Microsoft is developing, but these are, it feels like a lot of the new things are very technical solutions. We're just going to go simple here. We're going to go basic. How do I get data out of my reports? Where's the best place to view my reports? That's what we'll talk about today. All right. That being said, let's go through some of the news items. Tommy, we have a couple news items here.
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking about 10 years old for Power BI. So that's one of our items here. Let's talk about the Microsoft blog.
Oh, yeah. The Power BI blog, too, made an appearance. It's not just Fabric here. So it is the June 2025 update for Microsoft Power BI. And again, the reason we said happy 10 years, because officially, Mike, we can finally say, as of, I guess, today, that you and I have been working in Power BI for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So, and
we can actually add it on a resume,
right?
So like it's actually real.
Exactly. There's no lie here.
I think like 3 years ago we were joking like, oh, everyone says 10 plus years on Power BI. Like, that's not. It hasn't even really been out that long. So anytime I see a resume that's asking for 10 plus years of Power BI experience, like, that's not even a thing. But now This is the first time, Tommy. Just barely. It's like 10 years, like a couple days.
That's a plus. That's a 10 plus for me. So you and I are one of the few that started using Power BI from the get-go. I'll never forget the day. I remember we're already looking for BI solutions at my organization. They wanted this change, and I'm searching the web, and I see this blog come out saying introducing Power Designer to come. Like Microsoft's announcing this new tool. And I remember downloading it, and I just remember being just floored. I immediately made my page scrollable, which was the mistake, but it was the first week using Power BI. But Power BI Designer came out. I just remember, Mike, the thought I had when it first came out was, if this is Microsoft and everyone uses Office 365, and this is as cool as I think it is, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to put all my skill, all my effort into this because I think there's something here. And hey, so far, so good.
There we go. It's getting better.
And speaking of updates, Mike, we can do this little draft style, but there's a cool one that I'm finally happy to see. This goes along with our first episode. We're playing a lot of homage today. Well, if you import a model, have an imported model, a semantic model, and you publish that to the web, you're like, I need to edit something in Power Query. Well, Mike, what's been our case all this time? Reopen the Power BI desktop.
Go
to Power Query, do some edits. You could venture into Tabular Editor, but then you can't download that model. But now this month, Microsoft is excited to deliver Power Query editing online for import models. This is awesome. This is really cool because, again, this is one of those for me that I wish I had 6 years ago. Would have saved a lot of time, but bygones. But what I can actually do now is not just edit a Power Query. I can get data into an import tables to an existing semantic model. So let's say you're like, oh, I forgot something from a data flow. I forgot something from a SQL table. I can do that. I can transform and edit queries, and I can refresh the schema and the data in the web.
Yep. I mean, this is like again, I just feel like a lot of times I look at the Power Query team, and I'm going to rag on them a little bit here, but I mean, it's I don't know what was happening, but it feels like we're starting to finally get the features that we actually needed like months ago. Like, I don't know what was going on that team years ago. Like, this is, to me, this is like a no-brainer. We had like DAX query view inside the web to write DAX and better equations. Like, that was done way before we had the Power Query experience. And Power Query, Power Query Data Flows Gen 1 was like out there for has been out since Data Flows Gen 1, like years now. So like, this is a very welcome feature in my mind. In my mind, this is excellent to have this inside an import model that's there. Even if I have a model that has one table, I'm going to shape some different things. I'm going to add more things to it. Like, this makes total sense. I should be able to land the Power Query experience anywhere I want. Go back in, edit tables right from the service. Yeah. I'm in the edit model experience. Power Query should just pop up in the browser. Like, that's just makes sense. It should just be there. So I got to play with this a bit more. I'm very pleased to see this feature existing. I'm very pleased to see this feature available to us now that can all be edited directly in the service. So I'm going to play with it a bit more for sure.
Sure.
Love this. I think this is great. One other thing I'll just kind of point out here around Power Query-esque things. I really, really like the ability to see the TIMDL. So one thing I'm actually really waiting for, but kind of pins and needles here a little bit, is the TIMDL view is only in Power BI Desktop right now. I really can't wait until TIMDL view is actually inside the web and the service. That was another place where I found immense amount of value. Again, I don't write Power Query from scratch. I'm not an Alex Powers. I don't write it line by line exactly as I need it and have it work 100% of the time. But if you go to the TIMDL view, you could actually modify and tweak slightly properties or adjust things. And I've done that before with using TIMDL. So even just having TIMDL inside the service would also be another big win. So hopefully those features are going to be coming to the service at some point. I fully envision it would make sense to have all the feature parity between desktop and service be like they would match. I think that's just the right way Microsoft is going to go. Desktop will start moving more towards like a pro development tool. And you're going to start building more and more things directly inside the web and the service side of things.
It is curious because the TIMDL, it's amazing how much time that can really save. I know we've talked about that being a pure developer kind of based tooling, But if you're doing Power Query, if you have a pretty extensive experience in Power Query, it doesn't take too much to kind of get over that learning curve. It's not a terrible or a very steep learning curve. I need to remove a few columns, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to remove a few more from Power Query. Well, rather than opening up desktop and going through the refresh, I just had to edit Tyndall, add a few extra columns, and I can do that. I already see the code.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yep, exactly right.
It's not Tyndall's not a steep learning curve at all. You got to slow what you're doing to a bit. There's some indentation, some syntax, but it's not like, oh, if you want to edit this, you got to know some Python. So I'm really happy to see that. Mike, you got anything from the blog that you want to add?
Yeah, things I want to highlight here. So one thing I find is interesting. Let me get the right list here. So and this is maybe a general observation, and again, I'll just kind of call it out. And I'm very pleased to see this. There is now in this blog post, I believe, or this whole post here, there are 3 features I think I see here, all centering around the org apps. The org apps are getting more things inside them. So, for example, the org app, and I'm going to point out a couple that I think are relevant here. There's now support for adding paginated reports to an org app. Duh. That should have been like a no-brainer. Like that, yeah, I want to see those things in there as well. You'd be surprised, Tommy, maybe not you, but like other people. There's a lot of organizations that are still just using paginated reports. That's the extent of their reporting. They say, we need a report. It is a SSRS report that they're looking for. Like, just send it to me. Get it in my inbox. The amount of organizations that just need that core functionality solid and covered is amazing. So just to have the paginated report experience directly inside the service, right inside an org app, that makes total sense to me. I think this is a big win there as well. I think it's
I wish I was surprised. Feature. I wish I was surprised how many organizations, but unfortunately, I've seen it way too much. But this is a good one.
So I'm going to pick this one as just maybe 2 observations here. Is the idea of one is the organization apps is just getting more love. It's getting more features. I would like to see the organization apps get additional things, right? So another one here that you see is you can use Copilot on reports inside org apps. So that's another one that they're adding there as well. I think down at the bottom, there's like org apps are now available in Power BI Mobile. Like, again, they're extending that. The org app is extending itself. And I like it, honestly. I like the fact that the org app is an artifact inside the workspace and I can make multiples of those things. No problem. Like, that makes total sense to me. So I think this is kind of a better implementation of the, workspace app that we had in the past. And I think this just makes a lot more sense to me, easier to use even from my standpoint.
Oh, I'm saying bring back content packs, man. So.
Oh boy, you're really trying to throw stones, Tommy.
I'm throwing some old stones.
You're just looking. Stones. You're looking for an argument. I mean, I don't even know how many people even understood or even used content packs before. They were so difficult to work with. I mean, it was a neat idea, but I think the implementation of it was just totally off.
Fun little story since we're at our 10 years. Someone left the organization and they built this content pack that they did for demos for the sales team and completely broken. I never felt more like Sherlock Holmes than trying to figure out what the origin of this content pack was, which proved to be nearly impossible because it didn't have anything about authors. It's like, well, wait, who shared it with you? Okay, who shared it with you? How'd you get access? And this rabbit hole of trying to go down content packs. But no, Mike, I completely agree. The org apps, they have to be robust. They have to be something, and they have to be much better than what the already workspace apps are. I'm loving where they're going with this. And to me, this is it's such an easy adoption feature or tooling that we can use.
I would agree with that one 100%.
A few things we can cross off our kill it or complete it list, by the way.
Yep.
Sure. Okay. That. So I think that's always a good day for us when we can cross something out. Yep. We now have Sparklines, RGA.
GA. Wow. I always love to see things going GA. Let's make that large 100-mile preview feature list a little bit smaller every month. That would be great if we could get one out. I think there at some, Tommy, this is a Christmas story here. Okay. When we do Christmas with our children at our house, Christmas in June, what we do is we talk to our kids and we say, look, you're going to get some new things for Christmas, right? We kind of have a rough, and it's not 100%. We don't hold on to it really hard, but we have a rough 1 in, 1 out kind of policy, right? Right. If you get something new at Christmas, right? If you get something new at Christmas, you have to go donate something or sell it or get rid of something else. But you're gonna get more things at Christmas time. We need to like kind of purge some of the old stuff and keep in some of the new things. The only thing we don't purge is Legos, right? We just keep amassing lots and lots and lots of Legos. So those are out of the question. You don't touch the Legos. That's a bar none. Leave those alone. But other than that, we do a bit of a one in, one out policy. So I feel like, Tommy, if we keep going down this preview features level, we're going to need a one in, one out kind of policy. You can't put another feature into preview until you get one out of preview, or maybe two out of preview. We might have to go like a one in, two out.
Yeah. I think it needs to be a 1, 2 out. Yeah, 1 in, 2 out kind of thing. So
yeah, that's exactly.
You got to do something. We got to do something. We don't have enough space anymore. So
exactly. I don't want a scrollable list of all the preview features. Let's kill something. Let's get some stuff done. Let's get it off the preview list. I want to see you finish the features before we start adding a whole bunch of new ones.
Like this. And I listen, I am someone, you give me something on Windows, you give me something on any application, I am toggling every preview beta.
Oh, totally. All of it.
Everything.
All of it.
That being said, when it's something like Sparklines, which has already been available for, I want to say 4+ years. It has to be 4 years at this point.
I don't even know.
It feels longer. And you're like, oh, this was still a preview. It has to go through probably some quality review in order for it to be GA. And it's probably always at that threshold, but it's just not enough. But at the same time, Mike, you have unlike my own computer or my own products where I can toggle everything, something breaks, that's on me.
Yep.
I can't confidently put out a lot of things to the organization when I know it's in preview if something's going to break. I've been burned by that before. In Power BI alone. And I think anytime you're doing technology, you have to have that. So if I'm in a lot of organizations too, they're not going to touch it unless it's GA. So yeah, 1 in, 2 out.
But the downside though is we got 1 in, 2 out. We still have Translytical that showed up in like last month or so. So we still haven't we didn't really move the needle here. We got 1 in, 1 out. So we're still sitting the same.
Gosh,
I guess my question back to you, Tommy, would be how many years will it be until we get to one page? No, 1 page of preview features.
So if we're on the pace we're on now, never. But I think I would say unless they introduce something like Fabric 2, I would say in 4 years they'll catch up. However, by then there's going to be some product.
We'll see you in we'll see you at Power BI 20 years old, and then we'll maybe we'll get it there.
Episode 1000. Do you think
we'll have
a page?
1 page, a printable page of a single page of preview features. I don't know if that's going to actually happen.
I am taking the over on that. So episode 130.
Awesome.
No, that's a really good one. And I think the other things I know were from a time point of view, dude, I love updates. The Power BI June updates are just the updates just make me so happy. There's a few other ones here. Definitely take a look at them. I think we'd be remiss to talk a little about AI, some AI updates here. And I know I've heard people complain. You guys talk a lot about AI now.
I've never heard anyone complain about that.
But Mike, to me, this is the same thing. Like if we were a search blog and we never talked about Google, this is the world we live in. I'm sorry. This is just part of the game now. So I think new rules.
I think Microsoft's forced the hand here a little bit because it's their motive. Like they're all about AI on everything. It's going to be happening. And to be honest, Tommy, I have some apps that I've been using recently that don't have AI in them. And now I'm actually deciding to choose different applications based on how well they've integrated their AI. And now I'm starting to formulate opinions already. Like it's been maybe a year or so, but now I'm getting to the place where like if this stuff doesn't have AI already built into them or doesn't automatically do some automation of things for me automatically in the app, it's not as useful. Like I don't want to.
Or you never use it.
Well, one of the things I'm looking at right now is so we build a lot of apps for the Microsoft Marketplace, Marketplace. The Marketplace doesn't have any kind of AI code generation, AI read your stuff. So I'm constantly using like the browser AI to generate code, but like there should be an AI inside the Azure Marketplace for developers to push code in there. Like this is the description. Here's a bulleted list. Here, list me the features. Like it should give you examples of things. I'm looking at every time I look at a piece of software now, I'm looking for if there's a text box, I'm expecting some sort of AI to help me build some text in that box. I'm getting lazy now.
Dude, let me do you one better. One of the oldest products Microsoft had with Copilot is Power Apps. And I never use Copilot in Power Apps. I'm always using ChatGPT to help me generate the functions or what I need to do. Because to your point, not only am I looking for something that has it, I'm looking for something that's reliable and consistent to what I need. And I'm sorry, the Copilot in Power Apps does not do it for me. If anything, it makes me yell not great words when I ask for something. And I'm using the ChatGPT sidebar for what I need. Because to your point, we are not just expecting AI to be there, but we are realizing like, oh, it can solve most, if not many of my problems or projects I'm working on. So anyways, that being said, that's part of the game, especially when we're dealing with our data. So a very awesome update here to introducing upgrades to the AI functions for better performance and lower cost. So these are the AI functions available in LLM transformations in our notebooks. Well, now they're accessible to all. They're already accessible to all paid Fabric SKUs. This is not just your F64. And now what we actually have is enhanced intelligence. So now we can actually deal with a larger context tokens, which is really, or input tokens,
amazing,
which is great. We can use ChatGPT Mini, 4.0 Mini, even though there's like 18 more that have already come out since then, but that's a different thing.
That right there is becoming a problem. I mean, it's going to become an issue. Like the speed at which these companies are now developing, like everyone's now glomming onto like this experience of like, we have to have these things. There's lots of different models, and certain models are doing different things different ways. I've been working with my development team, and I've been asking like, look, where is this most effective? Just help me understand, like, where do I use these different AIs at what time? What's the best way to do it? And I was talking with my developer, and he was saying, sometimes I'll use, ChatGPT 04 Mini or 04, and then I'll use it for like a couple hours, and then all of a sudden it kind of like gets confused and starts slowing down. And he's like, okay, then I switch to a different model and then use that for a couple hours. Like, and he's like, I still haven't quite figured out like which one is the best for what I'm trying to do. But we're really starting to see like, different agents or different large language models are kind of specializing in certain areas a bit more than others. And so, now I don't know if it's going to be, initially I would think it'd be like one Copilot, one agent that would do everything. I don't think so anymore, honestly. I think we're going to have a collection of different agents. And so our systems and tooling will have to be in different spaces within your application. You'll need to be able to switch rapidly between different agents. I was just looking at another one, I use a lot of good. YouTube has figured out my algorithm, and YouTube knows I watch a lot of videos around AI now. So it feeds me all the AI YouTube videos. And there's now tooling where you can run across multiple models. You can run the same prompt in multiple areas and see what it gives you, and kind of pick from three choices. So now you can have different things that. What was that?
Was it called Gina? Gina?
No.
Okay.
It was one where you could actually run it. You could even like build your models and run them locally as well. You could build like a local model server as well. One thing I'm interested right now is like, it's not expensive to run a, model. I mean, you can go buy one of them, but my problem right now is I don't want to really buy 5 different AI agents and have subscriptions to them just to use them. So okay, this is going to be weird. I'm going to do a little bit of forecasting here, Tommy. I see the writing is on the wall here.
All right, I'm listening.
Between Apple, between these devices, between the thing I have in my hand, what I think is going to happen in the next couple of years, these models are awesome. They run really well. They're in the cloud. What's going to happen? I think the models will get more efficient, easier to run. And as the computers, like the local computers, get better, you may even buy, and I think NVIDIA is also starting to allude to this as well, you may buy a little box that you put all your models on, and then you just talk to that box, right? That one box, right? So that way it's not getting sent over the internet. You're not giving your data to a different company. Like there's a, again, maybe for an organization, you say, look, I don't want to buy Copilot anymore. I want to go buy a piece of hardware or stand up a virtual machine, and then everyone can run their models, their questions against that machine, which has the trained model down in it.
It's insane.
But it feels like there's a shift happening here where, the models are large right now. We can't run them on machines. this feels like the very early days of the internet. Like you had, like it was very large machines, only expensive stuff initially, and then as costs came down, as efficiency picked up, we started bringing like smaller and smaller machines, and now you've got these massively power graphics processing units on your local machine locally you can use. And now we're going to offload that heavy, expensive work down to local machines where I can just have the machine. I've bought it. I've already paid for it. I want to run this machine thing. So I don't know. We'll see where this goes.
I think you're spot on. I mean, I've invested a ton on my own PC because why would I, if I'm going to test an experiment, why would I spend cost on the cloud when I'm really doing testing? So I have
Correct.
4 terabytes of local models right now of just download local models that I use.
Yes.
I have a pretty good GPU because I could spend that in Azure, but I mean, then we're not going to Sam's anymore. Forget with what it can be because it's expensive. So there's a lot.
Exactly right.
My problem, here's my thing that we need to do, just like iOS did. Right now, ChatGPT has like 7 models you can use, but they're all the naming. I want one that has like an R for reasoning. I want one that has C for coding. What are you better at? I don't know. My secret sauce now, to your earlier point, I use ChatGPT for reasoning and I use Claude for my coding. So if I'm doing something with Cursor, for example, I have 2 agents always running. But this is dumb. It's at the same time, this is all dumb because all this knowledge that I'm using, it's going to change in 2 months. It's going to be completely different in 2 months.
And to your point, Tommy, like, again, I was unpacking this experience with my developer and I was actually talking with him. I said, look, he goes, well, sometimes I ask the code to do something or the agent to do something. He doesn't quite get it right. And then I spent a lot of time debugging what the agent did. And I said, what I have found is if I take these tasks that I'm trying to do and make them smaller, make them less large and just plan out the different pieces, it seems to work better for me. So I think there's going to be a place and time here where we're going to say, look, we're going to talk to your point, Tommy. Let's talk to ChatGPT first and say, hey, reason with me how to build this app, how to build this thing.
Right.
Give me the procedure on what you would do. Okay, now that we have the procedure, okay, let's go another layer deeper and let's further reason. Give me the steps for each of these reasoning elements, right? And now you have these very sequential steps. And then you can say, okay, feed each step now into Claude or something else. And so now you're taking like, okay, I'm going to think with one agent, build a plan. Once you have the plan, use the plan somewhere else and have them go build one step of the plan. Like, but now I need multiple agents to kind of work together. Today in the experience of like Cursor or VS Code, I don't really have the ability of taking like one agent, using it, and then taking the output of that agent and pushing it to another yet.
Right.
So I think there's going to be something here where we're going to need the ability to like, switch context inside the agents, right? Have a conversation with one agent, feed that conversation over to the second agent, and then have the second agent pick up that conversation and move on. That's where I think things need to start going, but we're not quite there yet.
And I think going back to Fabric here, because I would love to keep doing the Cursor thing. The biggest thing for me with the limitations of Copilot now in Fabric is they are building it for all types of audiences, whether I'm just a beginner, just starting out. So I'm going to start building a data agent. I need a pro level view of this. There's going to be, if not already, this person that is going to be skilled in data and skilled in AI. And right now, there is really no good feel for that. You can say AI Foundry, but that's more AI. You can say data agents, but that's still more data. I need to have the full open the box for me. I imagine if you're building cars right now, they're trying to have the kit. Like, here's your kit to build a car. Well, I have the ability to go under the hood. I'm like that. I'm good at it. That's more I'm comfortable with. So give me that ability. Let me choose my models. Let me go through the system instructions. Let me choose the input tokens, the temperatures, all the things that. And if you're going to make this available to an organization, I don't want just the out of the box solution. So anyways, I think that's where we're going. But to go back to the blog update, there's a lot more AI functions available. No more manual library functions. And I think they're getting there some ways, but I want to see that more. And this is actually not a bad segue, Mike, because we're talking about a lot of technical things here. And a lot of people, I think, listening to us now, and I understand people who are complaining, and I can hear you running or biking. Guys, we do reports. That's our thing. That's what I get paid for. AI is not the thing. So let's take a back step. Let's backtrack here. Let's go
let's walk
back
it
to the
back now.
core.
Let's walk it back.
Let's walk it
All
back.
right.
Let's walk it back
Walk
to
it
the
back.
core of what Power BI is. And do you want me to do the mailbag, or do you want to kind of introduce it a little?
Tommy, you do. Let's have you read the mailbag out, and then we'll kind of take the conversation from there, and we'll kind of unpack this question and kind of really get into the meat of
exactly
what do we mean by this topic? Go ahead, Tommy, take it away.
We're going straight hamburgers. We're taking out all the sauces here. So we have a mailbag. Thanks for whoever submitted this, but here we go. How can I easily provide organization-wide access to Power BI reports without having all of our users seeing and being confused by a bunch of Fabric items they don't have permissions to use?
Mm-hmm.
We are using an F64 capacity and Microsoft Fabric free licenses for our report viewers. We just want them to be able to view reports and not click around Fabric to a forum where they're trying to purchase, create, or configure something only to be met with an error or another dead end. There doesn't seem to be a way to achieve a simple user experience in Fabric. So, man, do we have a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, like,
and we're talking about this user is talking about Fabric level things, which is I get that. I understand that one. And that's the question here is kind of gearing towards like, how do we get that simpler experience in Fabric? I mean, the short answer to this one is you're not, because Fabric is like a bajillion new items and things you can go play with, right? So SQL databases, it's warehouses, it's functions, it's notebooks, like it's all the things that are super amazing. And, really what this is, I look at this as going, look, Fabric is the evolution of what Azure Data Platform was. Azure Data, all the things that you're getting in Fabric right now, it's not like Microsoft's making new things. These are all existing artifacts, existing software, this is, pipelines is built on top of Azure Data Factory. Years of development. I mean, it's a very solid program. Pipelines are awesome. It's brand new to Power BI users because we've never had to touch them before. We've never had to have data engineering brought into our wheelhouse. So I think this is a genius move by actually building and bringing all of the Microsoft products into Power BI, and then the rebrand, extending it to be Fabric makes total sense.
It is funny, Mike, because I did, as you said that, I kind of came to almost this this fruition, or really this realization. I am so comfortable working in Fabric and pipelines and all things, and I've been doing some pretty far-flung stuff. But when it was in Synapse and Data Factory, I was intimidated. And I think that even though it's the same, like you said, it's the same product. I have my parameters. I have the same activities I can do, but they've really made it easy. But that being said, again, if we took off the hat of who we are and the experience that we have and what we like to do, most people, and most people in an organization don't want to create anything in Power BI. That's not going to be their focus. They are there to view reports. You have report builders. I need to see my numbers and I need to get out. I need to see what I need to do. But now the Fabric user interface is all about what can you create? What can you build? Where can you go? What can you do? And people are like, I just want to see. I want to consume. I want to view, understand, move on. And to the person who wrote this mailbag's point, this is not easy. It's becoming harder and harder to have just that simple experience, especially if you're going to Power BI. So a few things off the bat that, you would have to kind of solve for. When we just had Power BI, you could lead people to the app page. You had Power BI Home, which was really about consuming. It was a consumer experience. And you can lead them to the app page, which again was a consumer experience. Power BI does not look like that anymore, or at least Fabric, because it's not Power BI, it's Fabric. It's really like, Power BI is now a product of Fabric. That's where we're at now. So that experience is nearly gone, where, I have a few people in mind that I worked with that they would be yelling at me for the experience, even though it's not my fault. But that being said, there's a problem. So, off the top of my head, what do you give bookmarks, links to just the apps? You don't even bring people to Power BI Home or Fabric Home, because you can't get around, if you were to go through the normal navigation, the user experience, the user journey at app.powerbi.com, that you're going to be going through this very, what do you want to create? What do you want to build? Most people are not going to get that. And I'm sorry, but just doing training and support is not sufficient for a wider organization.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of add to this. I mean, even looking at the question here again, just kind of reviewing, right? Let's really unpack what this user is doing here inside this context here, right? Inside the context of this question, they're saying, look, we bought an F64, which an F64, for those who don't know, that allows you to have a Power BI environment. It gives you premium. You get all the premium features, deployment pipelines. So from the developer perspective, the developer has the ability to build whatever they need to build in Power BI. And a F64 is also at the level where you get all the Fabric things, right? To data engineering, right? I would argue there's multiple personas that are at play here, right? There is this free user mentality that they're looking at. And so what I think is happening is when the free user shows up to things that are in PowerBI.com, there's all these hooks to, you can't do this. Go get this thing. You're trying to touch a Fabric item. You don't have access to it. Like all these little windows and pop-ups and buttons, that doesn't simplify the experience for those free users. So I do want to point out there's two distinct personalities in this question. The first personality is, I'm a developer and I'm going to build things in Fabric and make things or content between Power BI and Fabric. That's loading data, that's using lake houses, all those things. That's different than the other persona that I think is being talked about here, which is the free user, a user who does not have a Power BI Pro or Premium per user license, and they're looking to get access to paginated reports, Power BI reports, apps, org apps. Like it's just consuming things. So I would agree with this one. There is so many hooks to get everyone into the Fabric space. Microsoft is aggressively trying to apply to those free users' minds, in order to get them in to build stuff. And I think to your point, that's the right approach. They're not going to stop doing it. It's the right way to go, right? You're going to try, as Microsoft, you're going to try and make it as easy as you can to get everyone to come in and play and create. That's the right approach. So I want to talk a bit more around like, okay, how do we unpack this? Like as admins or developers of this system, like how do we identify the different personas in your organization? And I really do think there's actually there's levels to this, right? When you look at the people in your organization, you really want to identify like, how do people consume content? Are you an SSRS shop kind of thing, right? Do you have a bunch of people who sit on their email and they just wait for reports to show up to them? That's a report to you, right? So that is a use case, a persona of maybe how some organizations work. When we bring in Power BI, there's also this use case of, well, now I have a Power BI report. It's an interactive, clickable, it's almost like a data app, basically, where you can interact with the data and then export some information out from it. So is that what you need? Do you want users to be able to create their own reports on top of an existing semantic model? We're going a little bit deeper now. We're adding more capability to that user. And then do you want to go all the way into, now you're creating your own semantic models? And so as we keep, to me, this is an onion that I keep unpeeling. And as I unpeel more and more of this onion about what my users need, some organizations are only at level 1. They just want reports, put them in people's hands, and they're happy. Done. Move on. Other organizations, they're going to be people that are going to be capable and can handle more things. So I'll just pause right there. Reaction.
No, I love that, because you're talking about simplification here, and maybe I'm sparked here because I just found out that I can play Nintendo 64 games on my Nintendo Switch. But you think about that experience.
You just figured this out?
I didn't know this. I could play Super Mario 64.
You can do Game Boy. You can do
what?
Yeah, there's a Game Boy on there. You can do Game Boy games. You can do Nintendo, regular Nintendo.
Are you telling me I can play Star Fox 64 today?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, we got to go. Sorry.
Tommy's done. This episode is over. This episode's over.
What? Yeah. But where I'm going with this is the simplification of things and what that can do for a user, where if I wanted to play a game back in the day, I just had the cartridge, I plugged it in, it just went to the start screen. But
Yep.
I had to do a lot of training with my kids when the Nintendo Switch came out. I was like, well, you got to do this, got to go to the home screen, got to choose this. And there's a lot more steps. Not saying that's bad, but there's this extra complication here. And it's interesting you set the persona of the organization, where for me, I'm kind of equating it to almost like an age skill level. And I don't want to say age per se, but I see it with my own kids on their ability to play what games. And to me, this is very similar to the people I saw in my organization. Age had nothing to do with it, but the idea where I had a sales manager who was with me, the equivalent of my son, who was 4. And it was like, okay, I'm going to send you the links, create a folder on your browser to go to these reports. Anything else was like falling off a cliff. And that was important for that user. And that worked. A lot of organizations, it's not just the tooling that they have, but it is so dependent on the users themselves, and whether you have done any up training. Have you had Power BI in your organization for a long time? Or more importantly, what's your data culture like? And a lot of people, I would say, you take a random organization, I would give you 80% just want to view a report. They may click on things, but the majority want to consume. They want a number. They don't need the analyzed report. They don't need any extra bells and whistles. They would like to view their numbers and move on. And that is perfectly fine. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, that's great. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just, that's actually great if people are viewing your reports. So then you have this 20% that want to do extra, but I got to focus on that 80%. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I need to make sure they're on board with everything. So to your point, there's all those extra things, but I have to focus on 80% of my users who just want to get to a report. And Mike, this is difficult. This is hard for a lot of users to get to. And I don't blame them. As much as I can get it and figure it out, that's not their job to figure it out.
And I don't know if it is, but I think I'm not worried about figuring things out. I'm more thinking about, I think we need to clearly identify who are the people and how we're going to use our data. And I think I don't think when I walk into organizations, I think everyone really starts thinking about creating semantic models and building reports from scratch and building reports. That's the main conversation that I have here. Yeah. But a lot of times, again, I think as admins, and I've done a lot of training on admins and working with organizations, there's a very few sets of people that actually need to be doing that, right? So if we think about concentric circles of like larger audiences, for every one user that's creating semantic models, you've got 5 people building on top of that semantic model that make reports. For every 5 users you have creating reports, you have like 150, I don't know, some kind of multiplier higher than that, of people just wanting to consume data from reports. So it increases in size. So back to this question really is like, how do we do this? How do we simplify this experience? And my opinion here is, for the people that are those free users, PowerBI.com is overwhelming. There's too much there. There's a lot going on. And I think there needs to be a simpler experience on just how to get all of that done, right? It needs to be consolidated. It needs to be simpler. So let's talk about some of the options here. Let's solve some of these problems, right? I'd like to talk about, the ability, like if you have an F64, even all the way down to an F2, this works. It happens today inside the service. You can embed things directly into Teams, SharePoint, and into PowerPoint. So as long as your capacity is on an F2 capacity, let me just expand this a little bit, right? If you really wanted a simple portal for people to go look at and view reports from, you can easily embed them into SharePoint. Not very hard, very simple. And then all you have to do is grant the free user access to the SharePoint experience. Sure. Now, again, you can also use models with low security. You would need security groups, and you have to configure those users to be attached to the role of security inside PowerBI.com. But once they're configured, your reports would run just like normal. Rollup security will work. You can embed the reports. And I've actually worked with organizations when we start very early on stages and companies are more comfortable with SharePoint because that's been around for a long time. Here we go. Here's our reporting portal. Here's a number of pages in SharePoint, and you could just click through the reports. Boom, they're right there in your easy, not a problem. So I really like the experience of being able to embed things in SharePoint. Another place that I spend a lot of time is in Teams. I'm there all the time. So having reports embedded directly into Teams is also, in my opinion, a great win, because the first app I turn on in the morning it's Teams. I need to communicate with my team members or other companies or whatever. So those are two places where there are already people in those experiences. Why not just put the reports exactly where people are already working today?
And it is a place to put it. But for me, I feel personally, it's a little convoluted. Like they have their time and place, but for a universal default solution, they have a lot of limitations, especially the PowerPoint one and the SharePoint one. What
do you mean?
So, for example, I can't have a state that I've saved it in, and I can't look at any personal bookmarks, which I find a lot of people are consuming. They want to do. It's
good.
We don't have some of the features available. So, and then some of the things about the view, how I actually want to view pages. If I, and also some of the extra things on the activity bar that people like to do. If they want to, there is drill through still has that, but usually both of them are also a much smaller view of the page. It's not the same size of my browser or the SharePoint page. I can't expand it, but again, has a time and place, but for me, it's not the default way I would land someone.
So let's pause right there because I'm going to unpack this. I mean, this is the part of the trade-off, right? So this is, I think, evaluating that is this is the trade-off, right? So in trading off, not maximizing, in trading off, removing some of the menu bar options, you get this to your point, Tommy, right? I'm going towards a simplified experience. Right. That's what these are. These are simplified experiences, and I'm trying to pare down this overly complex system that is the PowerBI.com experience. And so I do think, so again, one of the things I just want to be clear about is, when we talk about these different personas, read and export data, great opportunity for SharePoint, Teams, and PowerPoint. Love that. It's very simplified. There's not a lot going on there. You're just starting out your team. Beyond that, what happens if you want to edit that report or take a copy of that report and then edit it? Well, those experiences don't give you that experience. So when you move away, the idea is like aligning what your audience needs, right? If you're just only desiring read and export data from the reporting experience, that is a valid solution.
Yeah. And I'll do one. Yeah, go ahead. I
want to move up a level and say, okay, now, if we're talking to the next level ring of this is, okay, now I want to read reports, export data, and I may want users to copy and edit reports. And then what experiences can we build there?
Yeah. And I think, to me, I still, even though I just said it's harder to get to, by no means does it make it worse. If anything, it's still the default for me. It's a Power BI app that's available in a workspace. The org apps, I would recommend it unless you have to limit it. Still, there has to be your default base has to be just reports and dashboards, man. Let's
unpack those things as well. So apps and org apps are another thing that you could use, but that is from PowerBI.com. Yes. Again, if we're talking about those things as well, that still fits that read and export user experience, because you can give the ability for users to build on top of it. So you start getting to the place where, and that's just a setting on the org app, like you can allow it or you cannot allow it.
Yep.
But inside the org app, you have a series of reports and you have a series of semantic models supporting said reports.
Right.
If you give permissions to it, you now move up to, so now we moved into, we want to actually let users build their own content on top of existing semantic models. And this is where we start talking about read and edit. Right. But now we're going back to PowerBI.com and we're making a specific artifact to share things. So I would argue to this question earlier, should I be sharing workspaces with users who are free users? No, you should not.
No. Oh Lord, no.
You should be focusing on apps and org apps to distribute content to those free users. And that way, yes, it's still a PowerBI.com. Yes, you still have these extra things, but at least you can start taking away some features from PowerBI.com and make it a bit easier to consume.
Yeah, and I think the bigger thing here too, if for the user's question, I don't want them to see everything else. Well, I'm hoping you have a center of excellence or a knowledge center. There's a link. There's a link that you can send out to users to say, hey, this is the marketing app. Yes, you can get navigated to Power BI, but it's a lot easier too if you just land on your marketing app. And I know it's not the best way, but at the same time, if you do want a portal that is for just marketing information, hey, everyone who's in marketing, here is your link. Bookmark this in your browser, which you can save. And
correct.
Just like people, I'm assuming most people know how to use Chrome and Edge to make a bookmark. Here's all your reports and views. To me, this is the default, the de facto way that solves most of the problems. Not everything, but for me, like there is no other way that I'm going to recommend it. I am not going to share reports individually unless there's someone who's more experienced.
Oh, no way.
I'm not.
No way.
I'm not.
It
No.
gets so unwieldy about sharing individual.
Yeah.
And
And
you know, as
even
an
then,
admin,
I can good.
no, you go.
Oh no, I was going to say, and even then, now at apps, I have app audiences, so there's no reason for me to share a report individually anymore.
No.
So,
And I would agree, like when you share individual reports, when one report is shared, this is something that the admins need to be monitoring, because again, there's no way you can't turn that off. There's not a turn off of that feature. So someone could go to Workspace, you can share the report, but then there's this whole, back to the question here, right? If you share a report from a workspace, the user who's consuming that workspace needs to have access to the workspace to go get the report. Right. That's just not a good practice here. I don't really like that experience. Yes, it's permissible. Yes, you can do it. I don't love it. So this is where admins need to come in and actually have reporting and analytics around, here's all the items in my tenant. Here's all the items in workspaces. Okay, what has been directly shared? And then addressing or talking to those teams and making sure that that's getting solved and fixed. I don't think you can stop it entirely, but at least having someone out with the awareness of like what's going on. Right. The other thing is too, people build stuff in my workspace and share it from there as well. Also not cool. Like, so that's another report. That's another culture thing that's inside the company that I don't want to encourage. I would arguably say we need to go find those things and either kill those connections or start telling people to turn it off. I think as an admin, you could actually sever that connection. You could just not share those things anymore as well. So anyways, those are things that I'm like, don't like those things. Now, hold on. Let me just go one more point here. We've moved up to in our scoping of things, right? We've talked about read and export. We've talked about read and copy edit reports. And then now we've talked about basically building reports from scratch. So all these three things, or org apps, workspace apps, those are sharing. There's permissions in there that allow you to let users create their own content on those existing semantic models. Okay,
and Mike, I think the last one too is something that you actually, because you're one of the 7 in Fabric right now. But to me, there's this other side too. Everything we've also talked about too is a wide array of content, of artifacts, right? Where with the app, it's not just a few, it's a lot. It's a lot of reports, a lot of content. But there's also this thing that it's been always seemed to be like a lot of developers have never been able to achieve, and that's an embedding solution. Where I just want to be able to view things simply. I don't need to view it in the Power BI in mainframe, so to speak. And it's embedding, which is something Microsoft's really focused on. And Mike, not to pitch you up here, but I'm going to give you a bit of a softball here. You have a great application too. And something that a lot of people can work on too is there is this other idea here around for a larger audience that may not be part of your ecosystem too. It may be B2B. And I think this is a big one people talk about, or it's my free users who only need 3 reports. Like I don't need 17 that I just want them to view to literally bare bones on just viewing the content here. There's embedding.
This is to me an untapped potential for a lot of organizations, right? And so when I look at how to do Power BI embedding, let me say it this way. It's easy to Power BI embed. And right now the embedding experience really focuses on the Power BI report experience. But Microsoft has added recently more ability to do other things in there as well. So for example, embedding will allow you to create a report. You can copy reports. Once you get into embedding, you have all the APIs. So you have the ability to build flexible experiences around this. Now, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest, right? Embedding is not for the faint of heart. If you are going to be doing embedding in your organization, you're going to need an app developer to kind of help you go through this experience. If you don't have a dedicated person for a longer period of time, you're not going to want to do embedding. However, what I will argue is, and again, this is one of the products that I have, I'm on the Azure Marketplace. I've built this. I've done over 30 embedded solutions for organizations. And I've taken 30 different projects over 5 years of like knowledge and like really distilled down what I think are the core features that companies need inside embedding. A simple dashboard, the ability to create bookmarks, the ability to allow users to copy a report and edit it on their own, the ability to let users create new reports from scratch, right? There's a whole really rich experience here. And so right now, I think a lot of embedding, and I think this is the miss in my point, a lot of organizations are focusing on embedding for their external users. Mm-hmm. That's great. It's definitely the right way to go. You can incorporate these things, but think creatively about this. You can also embed for your internal users. And that's super powerful for your organization. You can do single sign-on through your Microsoft identity provider. You can make this app that it's easy. And so, we've built a solution, and like other teams have also built solutions. I'm part of the Microsoft accelerators for embedded solutions. Well, you can take something that used to take 6 to 9 months to build, and you can now distill that down to an hour. You can be embedding things within 1 hour with a full solution, user access, report access, paginated report access, creating your own paginated reports, editing, exploring data with tables. Like the experience there, you can really build a premium level experience for users to interact with their semantic models and data. And so this is one area that I'm like, okay, this is an untapped, very greenfield potential area that more organizations need to get in. And I think of it this way. Day one, when you start working with Power BI, and that first run is you buy PowerBI.com, you just get it working, right? You build the solution. After you have practices, people are finding value from it, you're getting the reports going, then you take a step back and you start optimizing. How do we best optimize the licensing, the distribution, like other things? And to me, that's where embedding comes into play, where you buy dedicated fabric capacities and then you start cost optimizing down to what people actually need. And you can start paring back some of the features to start saving money and being more cost effective. So I think it's great. I'm going to put the link to my application just down in the window here. It's, I think, a great solution. If you're not checking it out now, you should definitely check out a lot of other organizations or things around like embedding. You don't have to go with me. There's a lot of cool tools out there, but I'm super excited about the embedded space. And I think this solves a lot of this question's problems. You can build experiences for just read and export. You can build experiences for copy and edit reports. And you can build experiences for reports from scratch on top of existing semantic models. It's awesome.
And it's not just because I've done 430 episodes with you and you're my friend, but no, to me, it's always seemed to be like a holy grail for a lot of people to embedding. And it's been the most straightforward that I've used. Worked with other clients myself, but I think you raised an interesting one about like in your own organization, because to me, the embedding still its best place is usually with external customers, right? Where they're not in my tenant. So I need to make something accessible to them, but with the same security. And embedding does that. If I wanted to do a security group, if I wanted to do, hey, these users can see these reports, embedding works. And your tool made it really easy actually with the list, but that's all available. But it's interesting when you say, if I'm dealing with my own organization, and maybe when it's a larger organization, and maybe from an executive point of view, they're brought to that link for an embedded solution. There are a lot of use cases there. And I think for a lot of people, the question is, what type of experience do you want for your wider organization? Right? Do you want, from a data culture point of view, from where they're at and what they want to see is what are you trying to achieve? If you want the bare bones, if you want something that's, here's the reports, here are things that maybe has certain security around, then embedding could be a great solution. I still myself personally, Mike, would lean towards, can I do proper training and support to build the data culture up? I wish the thing that just I struggle with today is I wish I could have two experiences for users. Actually, they talked about this. Microsoft actually had this. They're planning to release like the two different user experiences, and I wish I could customize this where it's like, hey, for this security group, they're going to see Power BI Home. They're going to see apps. Done. That's all they can see. For the security group, they can see X, Y, and Z. Because for me, Mike, it's really important, that first impression, especially because, again, I know I said this at the beginning, and I know we're getting at time. This, to me, this question I love so much, because I said this at the beginning, that at the end of the day, it's just trying to view reports. That's not the case. This is a data culture question, and maybe most of them are. But to me, this is about how people are actually being able to access, consume, and act on their data. How do you make that the most straightforward? How do you make that the most positive experience for your organization? And every organization is going to be different because where they're at. And for this person, they're asking for the most bare bones way. There are a lot of solutions to do that, but I think regardless, the biggest thing is it's not just the link or the way you get them to that, but do you have the proper support and training and education for the team? Because no matter what, even if it's the easiest embedded solution or the hardest Power Fabric experience, if people don't have a proper place to go to ask questions, if you just give them a link to something, you can't expect them to figure it out. So really, I'm going to kind of end with saying you must have the proper foundation in place with the proper education in place for anything to actually work out.
Yeah. There's an interesting chat going on here in the discussion area, and I know we're just about at time here, so we'll kind of wrap here. But one of the things I just get disillusioned around, there's this requirement, regardless whether you're PowerBI.com, whether you are not PowerBI.com, you're in Embedded or whatever the experience is. There's always this need to schedule the report, right? I want to schedule this thing to email to me, and I with everything that's in my fibers, people who ask to email me the report or email me the data, I don't understand. I literally don't understand. Like, let me give you the reasoning. Yeah. My reasoning in the past has been, this was a useful feature when it would take me 5 to 10 minutes to run a report in business objects. That was the mentality, right? If I had to go to business objects and run my report and it would take 10 minutes to run, I don't want to go to the web portal and hit go and have it chew for 5 minutes and then spit out a table that I could then go export. So that's lame. Don't like it. But when we build data into a report that is interactive and it's always up to date and it loads within seconds of it running, there's no reason to email you the thing. What are you doing? Like, I don't even understand why I need to email you the report. So, to me, like, this is it's an old way of thinking. That's not reporting anymore. And we as the data culture that we're driving here, we need to push people to, like, look, I understand you want the report emailed to you. Now, there is a valid use case here that when you're asking for data to be emailed to you, you're taking that Excel file, you're bringing it down, you're putting it on your machine, and then you're shaping that additional data and joining it with new things. Okay.
There's a better way too.
Not disagree with you, Tommy. There's also better ways. But my point is, when I hear that, that is a valid use case. I'm going to take this table of data and I'm going to continue to add and shape it and do other things with that information. Fine. But we really don't want to email things. Emailing stuff, it just clutters up your email inbox. We want to point people to links where the real report lives, or the real paginated report lives. It needs to be in real time. So I just really disagree with this whole, whenever someone gives me a requirement of, like, can you just schedule the report? No, you're building it, like, you're enforcing a behavior that's wrong. We need to, as a data culture, drive for people to, no, you go to the portal, you go to the interactive report, you go look at the data, because that thing, whether you look at it at 8 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., it's always up to date. Email's already saturated enough with a bunch of junk. Yeah, James, I agree with you. It's already saturated enough with just communication in there. Why do you need to be dumping your data in there as well? That doesn't make sense. Those two worlds should not blend together very well. Anyways, I'm going to get off my soapbox on that one. I can't stand that request. I really want organizations to challenge that mentality and think differently and think about how to solve that problem in a different way. Okay. Final thoughts on this one. Main topic today. F64 for free users. There's lots of different ways you can solve this problem. I'd highly recommend looking at SharePoint and Teams embedding. I think it's a great opportunity here. Keep people out of PowerBI.com, the portal, as long as you can, to simplify the experience. Embedding solutions, There's a lot of them out there. There's cheap solutions out there as well. So don't feel like you have to spend a ton of money to go do this. Embedding is going to be, and I would also argue if you're going to spend, like, honestly, if you're going to buy a $300 a month solution for embedding versus like build your own is going to cost you like hundreds of thousands of dollars to go build it with a developer or developers to save yourself like $300 a month. Like, how many $300 a month could you buy to just do this? Like, so I think there's a cost trade-off here of like, do you buy or build scenario? And I think right now the reasoning is so compelling to just do the buy scenario instead of build it from scratch. Anyways, that's aside, but it exists. So I really want you to encourage to look at like embedding solutions that are out there. Go educate yourself on that. That's a big win. And then the last point I'll kind of note here is user personas. Think about how your users are going to consume your content. Do you like read and export? Do you like copy and edit? Do you want to have them build their own reports from scratch? Do you want them creating semantic models? Think about your audience and what they need to do. So if you do that, I think you can then better cost optimize and provide the right solution. Tommy, any final thoughts for you?
No, I think I already said mine. I agree completely with you. It's the audience to me, and it's the proper education.
Agreed. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate your time today. We know these are fun topics, and we're talking so much AI. We're trying not to do it all the time. Hopefully this was a bit more centered around Power BI specific features and capabilities. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your ears. Please share with somebody else if you found this conversation useful and helpful. Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to subscribe and leave a rating. It helps us out a ton. Share with a friend since we do this for free. And we listen to your mailbags. The beat of where we know you guys are at is based on what the mailbags that you send to us. So if you do want to submit a question, idea, or a topic, head over to powerbi.tips/podcast, leave your name and a great question. And finally, join us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Central, and join the conversation on all powerbi.tips/ crash landing on all powerbi.tips social media channels.
You got to like look at the words, Tommy. Like, how many? You've done this 400 times, Tommy, and we still can't get it right.
I know. That was great.
Ooh, squirrel. Anyways, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.